Vibes Radio. I am one of your hosts today. My name is Onye. I am joined by phenomenal Chris. What's up, bro?
Hey man, I love that. We have to keep that's it right there, bro. That's the momentum.
That's how you want to be introduced
Yes,
all
sir.
the time.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's get right into this. Deshaun Watson, the best number 4 in the game,
Yes, sir.
just signed a brand new extension with the Houston Texans. I believe it's $160 million over 4 years.
Yeah.
Yes. That's all I can say is yes. Deshaun Watson is going to be the quarterback for the Texans for at least the next 4 years.
Well, 5, including this season.
Oh, yeah, including this season, obviously, of course. So I'm very excited about that. As a Houston Texans fan myself, being in Houston, there's nothing better than that.
Man. So when I saw it, it's kind of twofold. Because you remember Patrick Mahomes, he had the 10-year. I see the Texans trying to offer him the 10-year. And then Watson's like, nah, I don't know if I'm signing for that.
Right.
I don't think I'm going to trust you guys that much, but I'll give you 4 years. But the interesting part is the amount of money guaranteed these guys are getting. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a day. I know we're talking about Watson, but when you think about the quarterbacks, Watson, Mahomes, potentially Lamar Jackson, there's going to be a day where a quarterback is going to say, I want my whole contract guaranteed. We've already seen that with Kirk Cousins, right? We've seen that. Right. But I'm talking about, because Kirk Cousins was a different scenario. I'm surprised he got so much guaranteed money. It was a lot of money. So yeah. I'm happy for him.
Being Kirk Cousins, too.
Yeah.
Right.
And then flipping that around and seeing the guaranteed money that Deshaun Watson got, which he deserves, over $100 million. That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
Very happy for him. He deserves it. Go get it now.
Yeah, the next step now is just to give this city a championship, right?
Get it.
That's the next step. I mean, I don't know if that's going to be possible with the head coach that we have.
Man, that'll be tough.
But if Deshaun says he can do it with Bill O'Brien, I trust Deshaun can do it with Bill O'Brien. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying now.
We don't trust Bill O'Brien.
Right.
We trust Deshaun Watson.
Right.
Everything else, it is what it is.
Yeah, but Deshaun Watson trusts that he can get it done with Bill O'Brien.
Yeah.
So, hey, I hope it works out. As a Houston Texan fan, I hope it does work out to where one day we have a championship, and it'll be a crazy, crazy day in Houston, Texas.
So for you, do you think the Texans have an opportunity to win a championship in this window? So for the next 5 years?
Yeah, I do.
Do you think they're a championship team this season?
They're a championship contending team this year. They had a 24-0 lead on the team that eventually won the title.
Yeah.
Right? So, and that wasn't part and due to anything that even Deshaun Watson did.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of certain plays fell into the Texans' place and they got lucky.
Let's call it what it is.
Right.
It's luck.
And so I can argue that based on their coaching, that's why they didn't win the game.
It's not.
I'm just saying.
Why are you being so nice? Is Bill O'Brien in the room?
I'm just trying to be.
Because of the coach we lost that game.
If you want to call it being politically correct, I'm trying to be as politically correct as I possibly can.
When do we start doing that?
Because I want to see what happens this year.
Okay.
This is the year for me. If the Texans can't prove to me this year that they can make a deep run to the playoffs, then I will definitely go off. Because I've been going off before. Even after he traded DeAndre Hopkins, that was a big time. I know. That was a big deal for me. And I was almost off the bandwagon then. But I kind of went off, took a little detour, and came right back. Because it's still my team. And based on the fact that we still have Deshaun Watson as our quarterback, let's see what happens this year. The Texans, arguably, as far as chances to win a Super Bowl, top 7, top 6, maybe,
including AFC or NFC, or just the AFC?
AFC and NFC.
Ugh, I don't know.
You got Tampa Bay for sure. That's one of the favorites.
Saints.
You got Kansas City. You got the Saints.
Okay.
Who else? Like as far as clear cut above the Texans,
I would say the Steelers are. I'll be real with you,
but they're not clear cut. Ben Roethlisberger has to stay healthy. That's not a clear cut.
Okay, fine. With health, that's fine.
So that's 4. That's 14.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
No, they're as far as odds, I think they're top 6, top 7. You can argue top 5. You could, but I'll go top 6, top 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there are a couple teams in the NFC that I would argue are better, but to your point, you're saying clear cut.
Yeah, and they're on the AFC too. They don't have to face those NFC teams going into
that's true.
Into the Super Bowl, right? The only team that really is in their way in the AFC is the Kansas City Chiefs.
I think you're discrediting the Ravens a little bit.
No, the Ravens are there too, but the Ravens.
I think the Ravens are clear cut better than the Texans.
No, they are, but they have to show me that they can win in the playoffs.
Yeah,
they've been there 2 years now with Lamar Jackson, and they're 0-2 in the playoffs. So they have to show me clear cut Lamar Jackson, that team, that they can win the playoffs.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
with
so
that.
that's why. That's part of the reason why. All right. So let's talk a little basketball. NBA. Stephen A. Smith continues to run his mouth. We talked about this on one of our podcasts about a statement he made about
We're talking about on the
LeBron
show, too.
James. Yes, on the show too. We did.
Yeah.
We did. So this is what Stephen A. Smith had to say about Steve Nash. If you guys don't know, Steve Nash is going to be the new head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. Congratulations to him. But this is what Steve Nash had to say.
Steve Nash or Stephen A.
I'm sorry, Stephen A. Smith. I'm sorry. Stephen A. Smith said this. This is one of the toughest positions I've ever had to take. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no way around this. This is white privilege. This is not having for a black man. No experience whatsoever on any level as a coach, and you get the Brooklyn Nets job. That was Stephen A. Smith's comments towards that. I couldn't disagree more with that.
Wow.
I disagree.
real?
I disagree. You feel the same way?
I do, man. I do.
Wow.
I do. And I'll tell you why. I've seen this story way too often. I will say this, though. Lately in the NBA, when really good guards retire, they do get positions. But you look at a guy like a Sam Cassell, who has been coaching for a minute, and he doesn't even get an interview. It stinks. And to Stephen A's point, he's not saying that Steve Nash can't do the job. What he's saying is this opportunity doesn't happen for black people. And I'll give you an example. Even though soccer is not your sport, I'll give you an example. Frank Lampard, you don't know him. He's currently boss of the Chelsea Football Club.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Steven Gerrard, who has a position, I think with Ajax. I could be wrong. It's Ajax or Celtic. But either way, he has a head managing position. And you have a black player like Ashley Cole, who played with them, and he's on Frank Lampard's staff. The point is, it's not just in the NFL. For whatever reason, black coaches don't get that opportunity. And that's what's annoying about it. So I see what Stephen A. Smith is saying. It's not to say that Frank Lampard is not a good coach for Chelsea. It's not to say that Steve Nash won't be a good coach for the Nets. The question is, when do you see this with black athletes or even black coaches? Well, let's be real. The NBA is what, 80% black? It may not be that high, but it's high. It's high. But the coaches aren't reflecting that.
Well, we'll get into that a little bit more. So this is what Charles Barkley had to say. This is his response to what Stephen A. Smith had to say.
Okay.
When you have a responsibility, especially when you have to talk about something as serious as race, you can't be full of crap. You've got to be honest and fair. Steve Nash is a great player and a good dude. But I was disappointed in some of these guys. I was like, dude, black guys have done this before. Now, do we need more black coaches in the NBA? Yes. Do we need more black coaches in college football? Yes. Do we need more black coaches in pro football? Yes. But this wasn't the right time to say that today. Good luck to you, Steve Nash. So I agree with Charles Barkley. I don't believe that this is white privilege. I don't believe that he got this job due in part that he was white. I think he got this job due in part because he has some ties with Kevin Durant on the Warriors.
Yeah.
And they wanted him as his coach. If you look at the history of some other black coaches, you look at Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers got opportunity. He didn't have much experience.
Oh, no, but that's
hold on.
No,
Let me just keep on
That's
going.
not the
Let me
point.
keep on going. Let me keep on going. Jason Kidd, he also got opportunity. He didn't have much experience as well. So when you look at those two players that didn't really have that much experience and they got an opportunity, look at Derek Fisher as well. Derek Fisher didn't have any coaching experience also, and he was able to get a head coaching gig. I think Stephen A. Smith is reaching. I think he knows the temperature, the climate of what's going on right now, and he uses the opportunity so that people like me and you can talk on our radio show about
I
it.
couldn't disagree with you more, bro. I'm
Wow.
just going to be real with you. Because Derek Fisher's not going to coach again. Ever.
No, I'm talking about for the opportunity.
No, but that's
he
not,
got
that's
the
not
opportunity.
the point. What Stephen A. Smith is talking about is privilege. And to be clear, when you talk about Stephen A.'s comments, he said at least 3 or 4 times that Steve Nash very well could be a good coach. It's the same thing with Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr getting that job with the Warriors was privilege all around it. But did he do a good job?
Well, I think
sure.
I think it's Steve Nash privilege. I don't think it's privilege
No,
because of
bro,
color of
it's,
his
no,
skin.
no. It's white privilege.
No,
That's what it is.
no,
It's the same.
no,
I'll tell you
no.
this. Even though I know you don't follow soccer,
Even
I
some
know
black
you don't-
people have privileges because of who they are.
But that's not the point, bro. Duh. Like
That's what I'm saying.
But that's not black privilege. That's personal privilege.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying
but that's
it's
not the
personal
same
privilege.
thing consistently we've seen in the NBA and with coaching. Even Frank Lampard.
No,
bringing
you're
it up
right. It's
again.
not consistently.
No,
No,
but
I'm talking about for
that's-
this particular
But
instance
that's
with Steve
no,
Nash.
bro.
is.
No, because then what else would it be? Because even I'm gonna bring up Frank Lampard again. He was called out by some from current players and former players, and they were saying it's privilege. You saying, no, I'm Frank Lampard. It's like, no, bro, you missed the point. It's privilege, and that's what it was. That's what bothers me. I'm fine with Steve Nash being the coach, but I'm also fine with Stephen A's take because I understand what he's saying. Now you can argue, did he mean what he said? Was he trying to, you're talking about the temperature of the country. I've known him so far. I don't know him, but seeing him on TV as a person of integrity. What I mean is, if he's going to make a comment, he means what he says.
No,
I don't think he was just saying it because he wanted to rile up some people. I think he really meant it, and I thought he was heartful in the way he did it. So I'm cool with it, man.
We don't agree on a lot of things most of the time, but I can't agree on this point. I don't see it being white privilege, me personally. And Stephen A. Smith might have honestly thought that about the whole situation, but I just can't see it personally. I just can't. The Brooklyn Nets, who was their last? Well, they had Jason Kidd as their head coach at one point.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that the reason that they brought Steve Nash in was because he was white.
That's not the point. I think you're missing it.
No,
bro.
but
That's not the point.
This is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, what is white privilege? Let's break down the definition of white privilege.
I want you to answer that because it seems to me you
No,
might not
white
know.
privilege means that you have an opportunity to do something. You're first in the door to do something because you're white.
Okay.
And that's not what happened with Steve Nash.
Oh, man, you're missing it.
But is that the definition?
No, but
let's
you're
make
missing
sure.
it.
No.
But,
That's the definition.
But no, it's not. That's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
let's see.
The definition is you're right when it's part of having an opportunity. That part you're right.
Right.
But it's not just race related.
No. I'm talking about. But we said white privilege. I'm not saying this privilege in general. We're
No, that's
saying
my point.
white
My
privilege.
point. That's my point. My point is, it's not just opportunity. It's more that you have this opportunity because I can't even see the others who are available, and that's the problem. That's what the privilege he's talking about. It is, bro.
Oh no,
It is.
I can't.
Man.
We can't agree on this one. I'm
No,
sorry.
we cannot.
We cannot. We're just gonna have
We're
to
not gonna
agree to disagree. But even though we're in disagreement, neither one of us was there, right? So we're not 100% sure how it went down.
No, and that's why I think there's a disconnect. I'm not saying that Brooklyn Nets woke up and said, "Hire a white guy." That's not what
I'm
I'm
not
saying.
saying either. I'm not saying either.
I think they probably went to Kevin Durant and Kyrie, and,
Right.
Or maybe not Kyrie.
But they both were on board with it though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They had to at least say, "Hey, are you?" Because they're not gonna hire somebody that I'm on board with.
Right.
So that's not the point. Nobody's saying that Steve Nash can't do a good
And
job. And it's the same with Steve
No,
Kerr.
I'm not even saying
When Steve
either.
Kerr got the job, people were upset, but we weren't saying he can't do a good job. And clearly, he did.
Right.
He did a good job. But part of it is privilege. That's what we're talking about.
Man.
And with Steve
No.
Kerr, I was just saying this about Steve Kerr.
You think it was white privilege for him too?
Oh, I mean, it was, bro. It was, but at
I'm
the same time,
more on him. That's because of who we followed up with
Yeah.
Mark Jackson.
Yeah.
That's more so. But that's look. White privilege or not, you said it correctly. Hopefully, Steve Nash goes in there. He has a lot of talent to work with.
Yeah.
I think that I didn't even know he wanted to be head coach. Honestly.
I mean, reports were he didn't want to. He didn't even want the job, but they kept coming to him because the Nets GM Sean Marks is a former teammate of his. He was working as a player development coach assistant for Kevin Durant, so I'm sure they lured him into the job to take the position. And apparently, he wanted Dirk with him too.
Say what now?
He wanted Dirk Nowitzki with him as an
I
assistant.
mean, what you saying that don't even makes me feel like more so that it wasn't white privilege. If they've been looking to get him for a minute, when a team wants their guy, they want their guy.
Yeah.
And so that means it wasn't even about if you, Chris, want me to work for you, you just see something in me. Like, I want you to work for me. And you've been saying this for years.
No, but that's
No.
I hear
I'm trying to make a
you.
point. You've been
Alright,
saying
go
it for a
ahead.
long time. But I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Then it's like it wasn't even about anything like that at all. Just said that's their guy. That's the guy they want. That's how I feel. That's how I think about it.
And to be clear, at least my interpretation of what Stephen A. Smith was saying, at least this is what I'm saying at the very least, is I don't necessarily have a problem with the Nets wanting that guy. But it also doesn't stop me from saying, oh, that's privilege. And I think people miss that.
He is the same privilege that white privilege. Now, if he says if it's a personal privilege, like we talked about earlier,
when I say privilege, I meant white privilege. Yeah. That's what I meant.
I can't, bro. I thought. See, when we first started, I thought you were gonna be on board with me.
No,
we were gonna be.
I am not on board.
I can. And I want to say it's more so. I think more people are on my side than yours, based on what I've seen on social media and stuff like that. But there are some people that are definitely on your side with the whole thing as it being white privilege. But I guess it's something to talk about. I find it interesting that Durant and Kyrie both want him there as well. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, it's a personal relationship.
Right.
But as far as those two guys,
Yeah, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
that could be ugly.
Yeah, they need someone like LeBron James. That's what I think. All right. On the flip side, we are going to discuss the start of the NFL season.
Ooh, let's
Yes, sir.
go.
Welcome back. This is the new channel sports show on Afro Vibes Radio. I'm one of your hosts. My name is O-N-E. I'm joined by Chris. Let's talk about this NFL season, Chris.
Oh man.
It's been a long time coming, and it's finally here.
Yeah.
My most favorite sport out of all of them is the National Football League.
Okay.
NBA is close second. But this Thursday, the Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs will kick off the season in KC. It's not going to be quite the same because they're not going to have as many fans, but they will have fans there.
Yeah.
They're not going to have as many, but there will be fans there. Deshaun Watson going up against Patrick Mahomes.
Both got paid.
Yes, they both
Just
got paid.
got
So it's going to be, I'm definitely going to watch Thursday night. I still think Kansas City's going to win the game.
Yeah.
That's just my pick. Who do you got in the first game?
Man, so during the offseason, we talked about it earlier in the show, the Texans traded DeAndre Hopkins, and I was done. And then the season started coming
I
closer.
see you got your Texans shirt on.
I'm back, baby. And I have an upset pick for week 1.
Oh, you got.
The Texans will lose by 12 points.
Oh, wow.
They have no shot. They're not going to win the game. But I will say, coming into the season, both Mahomes and Watson being paid, there's a certain level of security that they now have because they're not playing under the rookie deal. Well, technically they're in the final year of the rookie deal, but they have the guaranteed money kicking in, so they're getting paid. So at this point now, they're in different places. For Deshaun Watson, can he really overcome Bill O'Brien? Because that's the way most people talk about it. Can he overcome Bill O'Brien and deliver this city a championship? For Mahomes, is GOAT status. You know how I felt about Mahomes. I don't think he has a chance of being the greatest NFL player of this generation, not the greatest NFL player of all time, but the greatest athlete that has ever played any sport. That's what he's chasing.
Man,
that brother's ridiculous.
That's some big talk. And I think he might be close to probably getting there. You know, of course, he has to win a couple more championships, lead his team there to championships, even be considered in that position.
Yeah.
But we're just talking about this first game. And what has to be done for the Houston Texans to win this game? First of all, we just hit it on the nail. Bill O'Brien. Bobby, you have got to come and coach and show that you are a legitimate head coach in this league. Because right now,
do you believe that?
I don't. Okay, I don't.
Okay.
Most Houston Texans fans don't. Most Houston Texans fans during the course of the Bill O'Brien era have been highly upset with Bill.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Even people who are not fans of the Houston Texans have probably been highly upset with Bill.
I gotta tell you this. My wife does not watch sports.
Right.
And she knows Bill O'Brien.
Right.
That's how contentious it is. And he's not just our head coach, he's our GM too, bro.
Oh.
So he's not going to fire himself.
I keep on forgetting about him being a GM. I just,
Whew.
man, I mean, come on, man. This is the year. This is the year the Texans have to prove to me, and to a lot of Houston Texans fans, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not just me, because a lot of Texans fans have gone off the bandwagon. After the whole Hopkins thing, now that cooler heads have prevailed, they're back on, and they're wondering what's going to happen this season. Bill O'Brien is the key, but also the other key will have to be Weaver as the new defensive coordinator.
He's a wild card.
Yeah. If he comes in and shows that he's a capable defensive coordinator, it's going to put the Texans on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Honestly and truly. Because, with Romeo Crennel being there, and I think before that, the head coach of the Texans was there, and the Titans was there.
Mike
The defense was decent, and they show flashes of being elite. If he can take them over that hump, and this can actually be a consistent, solid defense to help out Deshaun Watson and offense, then Texan fans, maybe we don't really need Bill O'Brien to be all that great. Maybe, because we have Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
You bring up a good point with the Texans defense because at each level, at the lineman level, you still have a star with J.J. Watt. At the linebacker level, you have a star with Zach Cunningham. And in the safety level, well, really the coverage level, you have, I guess, solid players. I'll give you, Reed is a good player. He's definitely a good player. And then Bradley Roby is a decent enough player. So my point is they have, I guess, either star level talent or all star level talent at each level. But the rest of the defense is solid. Is Anthony Weaver going to be able to utilize the star players and get the most out of the fringe players to have a good defense? The reason why I don't think they have a chance of beating the Chiefs week 1 is I don't think they have a chance. I think the Chiefs are going to blow them out. But I don't think the AFC South is very good this year. So you have another opportunity to win the South, host a playoff game, and then possibly upset a team. I don't think they're top 3 in the AFC. I just don't.
See, everything for the Kansas City Chiefs rides on Patrick Mahomes.
Does it though?
For the most part. I know Andy Reid is a great offensive mind, but before Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid and his offensive mind didn't win him a championship.
Right? He was doing damn good,
He was
bro.
doing damn good, but we're at a point, we just talked about it. Making it to the playoffs is not enough for Kansas City. Okay, whoop-de-doo. You made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, Kansas City fans are expecting you to win
Super
championships
Bowls.
every year.
Yeah.
You got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. So that's why I say most of the onus is on Patrick Mahomes, and that's why I give the Houston Texans a little bit better chance than you do, because their defense is not great either. Talking about Kansas City. Their defense is... They do just enough.
Exactly.
Right. They do just
that's
enough.
What they should be called. Just enough. That's what they are. And that's cool if you got Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
If you have Patrick Mahomes, all you need is just enough.
Right. So, and that brings me to my next thing is, if the defense of the Houston Texans can rise to the occasion Thursday night and actually show some resistance against Patrick Mahomes, then maybe they have a chance to win.
So you're saying they're going to win?
No, I didn't say that. I just said
okay.
I said they.
Say what you chest.
We have to see what... I don't know what Weaver can do right now. This is the evaluation is throughout the whole season. They might even do it the first game. I need to see it throughout the whole consistency.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. So, what is the one thing you're most looking forward to for the season, for NFL season?
In totality, I just want to see the players stay healthy. And I know it's a weird thing to say, but think about it. We haven't had a preseason, and a lot of these teams in their camps, they've really been walkthroughs, particularly for the Texans. So the number one thing I most want to look forward to is just making sure the players are healthy, because there's the COVID issue, right? And you want to see if can they actually finish the season. That's number one. But then there's also, you know how it is whenever anybody's played the sport, my soccer heads, football heads, basketball heads, when you don't play for a while and you try to push off on your knee and you feel a little tweak, and you got to stop for a second, I think we're going to see that a lot in week 1.
No, I definitely believe you. It's not going to be big time injuries. We're not going to see like
I hope
not either. But I don't think we're going to see like ACLs and all that stuff. We're going to see little minor tweaks here and there because there was no preseason.
Yeah.
These players weren't able to really gear up and get ready to play. It's almost like they're just thrown in there. Even though some players, some of the veterans, they're not going to play preseason anyway.
But play a little bit.
A little bit.
And in practice, they're going to practice.
Right. So it's going to be very interesting to see this season what happens. You hit it right on the nail for me. The most interesting thing I want to see is how the NFL is able to monitor this whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
Because we saw what the NBA is doing, and it's just to perfection. There hasn't been any cases of COVID there in forever. We didn't even know COVID exists in the bubble.
I don't even think about it anymore.
Right. So for the NFL, that is going to be the main thing is, can they get over that? Can they manage that? Can they continue to play games on a weekly basis? Is the season going to be cut short? I don't know. I don't know if they can do it. I hope they can, because, like I said, football, that's my thing. You can say no NBA for 10 years, no MLB for 10 years.
Don't do that.
No. If we stay out of football, I'm good. I'll be good. Because NFL is definitely
I'll be honest with you, man. When I see the MLB, and they do play every day and they travel a lot, so it is a little more difficult there. But if you think about the NFL, they play once a week. So let's say the Texans have one guy test positive for corona during week 3. Then how's the schedule going to look?
Right.
Because if you can't play week 3 and it's skipped for whatever reason, it's not like the MLB where you say, we'll just do two games in a day. We'll do a doubleheader, one in the afternoon, one in the evening. For the NFL, you'd have to somehow reschedule that.
Right.
So the corona aspect of it is difficult. But I want to get to the football, man.
Right.
Just like you said. For me, as a fan, the biggest thing I'm excited for this NFL season is, we touched on a little bit with Patrick Mahomes, is these big money contract players, the Mahomes, the Watson, even the Wilsons of the world, because I think we're going to have a season in the NFL unlike any other offensively. We've talked about it before. With no crowds, these offenses are going to be humming, and it's going to be beautiful. I like high-scoring games. I don't know if you're one of those dudes who likes a 16, 13.
I love a good defensive battle.
I'm good. I like it. I like my games with all the meat on it. You know what I'm saying? I like score. If it's a 65-60 game, I'm here for it. I love it. So I think we're going to get that, and I'm so excited for that, man.
I'm excited too. So the next question I want to touch on real quick, real short answer. I'll give mine first. What team is under the radar this year that no one's really talking about that might make that deep run into the playoffs? And we talked about this team a little bit on our podcast. And with more evaluation, I'm going to say the Indianapolis Colts. They're that team. They're a veteran team.
Yeah.
They have a pretty good head coach in Frank Wright. I hate to say that here in Houston, but you know how I feel about Frank Wright. We know what he did to the Oilers back in '94. We know. But they have a good defense too. So with all that being said, if Phillip Rivers comes back to form, he still got T.Y. Hilton. He has some options there on offense. That team can make a deep run to the playoffs. And I think they're an underrated team that no one's really talking about, that if everything clicks, they could do something.
I had two of them. I go one NFC, one AFC. For me, in the AFC, the team nobody's talking about is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right.
You have Ben Roethlisberger. You have a good surrounding core around him, and you have that coach over there who's excellent. I love that man, Mike Tomlin. And I just think they're under the radar. Everybody's talking about the Ravens. Everybody's talking about the Browns. The Steelers right there said, okay, Roethlisberger is back. And the no crowd aspect is huge for him, at least in my opinion, because I think that offense is already good. They'll be flying high. So they're my AFC sneaky team. For the NFC, I'm going to surprise you with this one. Go ahead. Chicago Bears.
No, I knew that already.
Nobody's talking about
You mentioned it before.
I don't care if Nick Foles is quarterback. They just announced that it's going to be Mitchell Trubisky. I'm here to tell you right now.
That's the reason I think you're crazy.
And he ain't going to be there for long because Nick Foles is going to come and take the job. But either way, I think they're going to be fine. Nobody's talking about Chicago Bears.
Like how? Making the playoffs?
Making the playoffs.
That's not a surprise to me. They are a playoff team.
How?
They are a playoff team. If you put a decent quarterback there, they're definitely a playoff team.
Is Mitchell Trubisky a decent
No!
quarterback? So if they make the playoffs, it's a surprise. That's my point.
My thing is, you're putting too much stock into Mitchell Trubisky there because he could start the whole season.
I'm not putting any stock in. I don't know if you. There's no stock in Mitchell Trubisky.
I just would have named him as being anything. As long as they had Mitchell Trubisky under center, I would have named him as anything. Don't get me wrong. Mitchell Trubisky is not garbage. He's not trash. But I don't think he's a good fit for that Chicago Bears.
I think last season, their record was worse than the team actually was. And the problem with that, sometimes you forget how good the team was in the prior season, and I don't think that was a fluke.
Right.
The defense is good, but the way their offensive scheme works, people are sleeping on Tariq Cohen, and I think they're sleeping on Allen Robinson.
I was big on Tariq Cohen last year.
You keep drafting him in your fantasy league.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
So, fantasy. Talk about fantasy. That's another big team coming up. That's the thing that me and you, we have a league coming up. We have a draft coming up tomorrow night, actually, tomorrow evening. So, and you know I'm big on daily fantasy football.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do right now is we're going to name our fantasy football all-stars. The players that throughout the season are going to be big. We're doing this every week. So the first name I'm going to name is not a surprise. If you do not find a way to draft this guy, or you don't have him on your daily fantasy roster every week, then something's wrong with you. Because I learned last year, the first maybe 4 games, I was like, but after that, I was like, he's on every single roster that I put down. And that man is Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
He is a fantasy football stud.
Yeah.
A1. You have him there at all times. The offense should be called Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Because that's what they utilize. The offense is, I wouldn't necessarily say it's built around him, but he's the only option they have, so they utilize him. I'm talking about every week, from week to week, he's at least double digits. And some numbers he puts up are ridiculous.
Well, because it's the touches.
Yeah.
When you do fantasy football, if you haven't done it before, and particularly when you do daily fantasy,
yes,
which is where the money's at, y'all. You ain't
sure.
doing it, get on it. You have to get players that get the touches. That's all you can ask for.
Right.
You just need guys who get touches. So Christian McCaffrey is a good one. For me, I normally don't do quarterback picks early. Right. I don't do that because it's kind of foolish. The really good ones, we know quarterbacks, you can find a decent one. But this week against that Texas defense, if you can't find a way to get Mahomes on your daily fantasy, I understand if you're having drafts, you're not gonna be able to draft him. But on your daily fantasy, you gotta get Mahomes on there because that's free money.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll keep into the conversation of quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, you gotta have him every week. Somehow, some shape, form, or fashion.
Last season I drafted him. Y'all making fun of me.
Well, you know that from year to year, if you notice my drafting, from year to year, I always pick a mobile quarterback. I always try to. But after the cat was out of the bag, I couldn't really do it anymore. And Lamar Jackson, as far as mobile quarterbacks are concerned, he is the best. So if you have to pick up a quarterback in your daily fantasy, you have to make sure to get Lamar Jackson there. And if you look at when he's set up against certain teams, even more so.
Yeah.
Even if it's a tough matchup, you got to pick him up because of his legs. What he can do with his legs, he can definitely pick up points.
Yeah.
All right. So we talk about our all stars. Name a sleeper out there that you think people should be picking up for daily fantasy and for season purposes. as
Okay,
well.
so he's a sneaky sleeper because anybody who watches football, you know him.
Right.
Joe Mixon of the Cincinnati Bengals.
But he's been a sleeper for years, Chris.
And nobody wants to pick him up.
It's because he's been disappointing you
Yeah.
every year.
No, but there's always that. First of all, they have a quarterback now.
So right now, Chris. Right now, you're telling us Joe Mixon will have a good year this year.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
When we're drafting, when we have our draft, don't touch him. Since
Okay.
if I see you click on him, we're
Oh,
going to
hey,
have a problem.
this is free range. This is free range. So I can click on it and go watch it. So you're saying Joe Mixon is that
Oh, yeah.
sleeper?
He's that guy.
Okay.
He's that guy.
Well, for me, I have a sleeper. And it's going to kind of surprise some people, but he is somebody that you should be trying to pick up in daily fantasy and for your season is Will Fuller. I think Will Fuller will have a healthy year this year.
That's the key. Health.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I think he's going to be healthy, and with the way the offense is built right now, they're going to be looking for some people to step up. I think that's going to be a very doable combination.
My problem with guys like Will Fuller, and I put him in the same category as like a Deshaun Jackson, it's boomer bust.
Right.
If he doesn't get that 60-yard bomb, your daily fantasy day is over.
But
And
I
also
think-
your fantasy team is over.
No, I do agree with you. I do agree that I don't even think he's a boomer bust guy because he hasn't been able to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Deshaun Jackson, when he was healthy, he was definitely a boomer bust guy. But because of the way the offense is set up, you have, I think it's Cooks and you have Randall Cobb.
Yeah.
They're going to be looking for someone to be more consistent and to get even those little bitty yards. I think Will Fuller's going to be that guy. If you're looking for someone to propel you in your drafts in a daily fantasy, I think it's Will Fuller.
Yeah. And I think that's fair. Honestly, the thing that scares me away from the Texans wide receivers is it could be any of them.
Right.
Honestly.
Right.
So that's why I would kind of edge away from them. And I guess if I was going to name another player, mine is not a player, it's just a straight up team. I don't think this team is going to have a great season, but any skill position player from the Arizona Cardinals that you can get them.
Right.
That's honestly how I feel. Because they're going to put up points this season, and they're going to put up a lot of them. Because that's what they do, and they're going to have to do it. So any skill position player you can get, obviously if you can get DeAndre Hopkins, get him.
Right.
But even having Larry Fitzgerald towards the end of the draft is not a bad idea.
Yeah. Well, my whole thing with Will Fuller, too, is also this where we get out of here. You have Brandon Cooks. He's never really the number one wide receiver, right? And then you have Randall Cobb on the other end, too, as well. He's just that kind of dink and dunk guy. They're going to need that guy to be a number one wide receiver.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if it's Will Fuller. Now, of course, it's all on health. Can he stay healthy?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for listening. This has been a New Channel Sports Show on Afro Vibes Radio. You can catch us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. If you like what you heard and you want to check us out on the podcast, we're available on any major podcast platform. That's New Channel Sports Podcast. It's been a pleasure, and we're out.